Hey guys, in this video I will explain how every light wielder got their vision, as well as comparing it to its counterpart Sephiroth in the Tree of Life, or at least that's what I normally would say. However, this vision is a bit different than the others, so instead I'm going to explain this vision, as well as explain some things you might have not comprehended fully in the 3.5 Archon quest, as well as cover Alice, Sophia, Paimon, Lumine, Ether by Gnosticism's viewpoint. Alright, so let's just jump straight into it. What exactly is the vision of light all about? Well, its counterpart Sephiroth is supposed to be called beauty, and this one is about harmony and compassion. It's about holding opposing energies. It is the sun, it is the light, it is enlightened consciousness. Its point is supposed to be about sacrifice, balance, and empathy. The way you obtain this vision is supposed to be mercy and compassion, balancing kindness with restriction. Though I've said a few times in the past that every character should be able to unlock every single vision in the game, and they're only limited by themselves. However, I'm not sure if Genshin is actually going to do this. However, this is the very point of Gnosticism, so if they do end up doing this one day, any person that manages to unlock this vision is exceptional and is one of the very few who would be able to gain complete spiritual enlightenment. Complete gnosis. I know I said in the past that in the end everyone is gonna have to go through this and gain complete gnosis. However, to be a pioneer in this, to be one of the very first ones, is a bit different than being one of the very last in the entire world. You see, the hard part about this is your soul's resonance. Everyone has a default resonance to their soul, which makes them more likely to be designated to a specific vision. And therefore, once you unlock the specific requirements it takes to unlock that specific vision and you resonate with it, then you would gain access to that vision, sure. And if you want to gain access to a second vision, you then have to have your soul resonate with that vision as well, and then do whatever it takes to unlock, which is very easy with some combinations. However, with others, they're opposing ideals, and therefore it is very difficult, if not completely impossible, for some people to have their soul resonate to two different frequencies that oppose each other at the same time. However, someone who already has this Sephiroth or vision unlocked, the light one I'm talking about, they will have a much easier time if it's not just completely natural to them, as they will have this understanding of balance and harmony within themselves. For instance, to be able to balance Geo and Electro at the same time, unyieldingness but surrender at the same time, confidence and humility at the same time. In the Tree of Life, there are these alchemical triads. On either sides of them, you're supposed to have the opposing forces, and on the center of them, you're supposed to have the balancing points of them, which can better help you understand how to transmute pyro and hydro together to find that harmony, to find that balance where they're not just gonna clash, where they can actually blend together and work together. That's what the center Sephiroths are supposed to be about. However, the light Sephiroth, it's not only a center Sephiroth that does this for two opposing Sephiroths or visions, but it's in truth the center Sephiroth of all of them overall. It's the only Sephiroth or vision that can directly link with every single other Sephiroth or vision, and therefore it is the one that has the easiest time linking with every single other type of vision, or helping any other two Sephiroths or vision to work together. Therefore, that is why light wielders are the only ones who can bring complete harmony and peace to the world of Teyvat. They're the only ones who can unite these different nations that may be at war with one another. They're the only ones who can be the common link in between all mankind, which is supposed to be one of our very goals in the game as the main character, and maybe Alice's role in the world itself. And you may be wondering, why the heck do I keep bringing up Alice when talking about light wielders, when she's probably gonna be Pyro, right? It's because she's a descender. And if you watch my video, I think it's Genshin Completely Explained Part 2. In the beginning of that video, I pretty much explained what Aeons are, and all creatures that come from the realm of lights are Aeons. And Aeons would pretty much kind of be translated to angels. That's kind of a simplified and all boxed together version of what they are, but that's pretty much what they are. And they all wield light. All descenders would be classified as Aeon, and therefore all descenders are light wielders. Alice is likely older and wiser than the main character, and therefore when she came down, she probably hid her abilities. She probably hid the fact that she's a light user, and likely to this day she's posing as one of the other elements. The only way I can see that Alice wouldn't be a light wielder is if she's not a descender, which she does seem to be, or she is a descender but she lost her light, kind of like how I explained how the Heliotros and the Abyss Kings and the Primordial one, which is eventually going to be known as the Demiurge one day, or pretty much anyone who sided against the light. Anyone who didn't take Sophia's side when she came down, anyone who was against the Archons as well, who sided with her, anyone against the side of the remembrance would have their light stripped from them. And that's when they would turn into this dark husk of themselves, which I explained in my Genshin Completely Explained Part 3 video, the Archon War. In there I also explained that creatures without light are unable to get a vision, which is why the Fatui don't have visions, or anyone on the dark side aren't going to have visions. It's not possible. Anyway, there's not much else known about Alice at the moment except for the fact that she's extremely intelligent and enlightened. She may be the smartest person on the planet itself, as well as that she's almost absolutely going to be lying about what element she wields, unless they're just going to state that she's a light wielder. Next is Aether and Lumine. So I've gone over this quite a few times. However, let's just skim through it really quick. So obviously they're light wielders. We all are aware of this. A funny thing to note is that since the overall primordial one of this world, which is in truth called the Demiurge, is claiming to be the good guy and the beneficent one and so on, and we are the intruder coming in here, posing our will and going again and defying all the laws and ways of this reality, right? And therefore we're seen as the bad guy. We are Lucifer, like I said in my very first video, which a few YouTubers did mimic me without giving me credit, but it's whatever. That's why Paimon's name is supposed to be the servants, the loyal servants of Lucifer, and she is in truth the loyal servant of us, because we are in truth Lucifer in the eyes of the primordial one of this world. This is also why all of the Archons have demon names, because they're demonizing them, when in reality they're the ones who chose the side of remembrance. They're the ones who chose the side of light. We are the good guys, in other words. So Aether or Lumine, whichever one you pick, the main character, they're basically like Jesus. This is Gnosticism's version of Jesus. We're the Messiah, we're the Savior that's sent down here to save Sophia, which I explained a few times in a few of my videos, and I'm gonna explain a little bit later as well. So we came down here to save her. That's one of our big points. We are also supposed to show ourselves to anyone who wants to gain vision by shining our divine light. That's the whole point of why we were flying around the sky in the beginning of the game, to show the people that there is more to reality than the Demiurge is claiming, that there is more to existence. He doesn't know everything, he's not in control of everything, and he's not dictating all of the rules. However, everything that the people have known prior to us coming down and prior to Sophia coming down was only dictated by him. They didn't know anything beyond that. So we came to show them there is more, and he is wrong and he is lying. This very truth, however, is the forbidden knowledge. Why? Because he wants to keep everyone in his little toy box, and knowing this knowledge can lead you to gaining gnosis, to unlocking all of your sephiroths and visions, to obtaining complete enlightenment and being able to leave this little sphere that we're trapped in and actually going to the true realm, the realm of light. Anyway, there's a weird claim I made about Lumine and Aether a few videos back, long before 3.5 came out. Some people are probably like, what the heck are you talking about? I said this is because it's a Gnosticism, and therefore, since Genshin is doing Gnosticism, there has to be something similar that's going to occur in Genshin. And it was that Aether and Lumine, though they are two separate beings, they are actually the same being. They're the twin star. And we're going to fuse together one day, because that is literally what happens in the story. We're two beings that become one being. Like I've said quite a few times in past videos, it's supposed to play out that Sophia comes down first. She accidentally creates a duplicate of us, which was already her soul's counterpart. So then there would be two of us in existence from this point on. However, we're not going to fuse together till way later in the story. Anyway, Sophia made a few other mistakes and she felt guilty and obligated to be the one to fix this, so she went down to the planet. Let's phrase it as if we're speaking about Genshin because it matches one for one anyway. So the sustainer of heavenly principles goes down. She's the first descender, she's the second who came. It is the sustainer of heavenly principles, which is Sophia in Gnosticism. She came down to try to undo her mistakes and ended up getting stuck down here. Then we were sent by the true primordial one, which is shown in the Gnostic tale of the battle pass in Genshin. We're sent down by the true primordial one to go rescue the pearl, to go rescue her, Sophia. However, the same thing that happened to Sophia happened to the first one of us that were sent down, where they ended up getting too close and then they started to lose and forget who they were. So then the second one of us goes down to save both Sophia, which is the pearl, and the person, as well as to save our other half. Eventually, one day in the future, we reunite with the other version of us and we merge into one being. However, our story doesn't end there and it is nowhere near that simple. You should go look at my other videos because I touch on a little bit more details, but basically, we have to save the entire world, every single person in it, try to get everyone enlightened and constantly combat the forces of evil, as well as combat the influence of the Demiurge and the Abyss Kings from not just people but from corrupting the world itself. Luckily for us, one of our abilities is that we're able to actually dispel darkness or dispel light from certain creatures or people that aren't worthy of it. One weird choice that Genshin chose that I wouldn't have necessarily done is that light wielders have the ability to take on any element they want, when I wouldn't have interpreted it that way. I would have more thought it would have been something like you enhance the abilities of these two different people of different elements to be able to work together. So for instance, the in-game resonance of each element, I would have amplified that. Or someone like Nilu's ability that she can only work with Dendro and Hydro. With someone like a light wielder in her team, it would have allowed someone like Pyro to work flawlessly with her without it restricting her abilities. As for what we would have been attacking with, I would have just put it as pure light. However, since the Sephiroth says it's about holding opposing energies, I guess they took it literally and they put it that you could just obtain any element you want, which is whatever, it's their game, they can do as they like. I'm sure there's a lot of stuff I forgot to say about Lumine and Ether, so you should probably go look at my Genshin Completely Explained videos. But for right now, let's move on to the Sustainer of Heavenly Principles, or Paimon, which would be Sophia in Gnosticism. Okay, so I know I keep saying this over and over again, you guys are probably sick of hearing it, but I've already said all this stuff pretty much in my Genshin Completely Explained videos. So I'm only gonna lightly touch on each category and not really go full depth into them. So when it comes to Sophia, she is the reason why everything on Tvad is created. The Sustainer of Heavenly Principles is the origin point, the singularity. As an Aeon, a creature of light, she's able to create things, to manifest things into being at her will. At one point in the story, she made a misjudgment and it led her to ending up being destroyed. And in this complete moment of sorrow, she created certain things by accident. One of the things she created was a duplicate of her counterpart, of her soulmate. This version of us, being born imperfect, as it was born with a bit of darkness, shed this darkness off of it and fled to the realm of light, leaving her even more distraught as she was abandoned and left down there alone. She ended up creating even more things by accident. Every single element that we know in existence exists because she created it in this moment. One of the things she ended up creating as well was the thing that everyone in Genshin calls the primordial one. It is actually called the Demiurge in Gnosticism. This creature, this being, thinks they're the overall god creature. They think they're the main one and the first one, but they're not. They're actually the last thing in existence up to this point in time. They're literally a baby at this point, which is funny because the creature that created them, Sophia, is a baby herself. She's the youngest Aeon in existence and she created an even younger creature. So this thing that's claiming to be the primordial one is like a baby of a baby. We ourselves, the main character, Ether and Lumine, we are older than the primordial one. Second one of us being not so much older, but still older. The Demiurge, once he was abandoned and hid by Sophia, he ended up creating all kind of stuff with the material that Sophia left behind. One of the very first things he created were shadows or shades of himself. These are the very first archons. These are called Abyss Kings in Gnosticism, and they are going to have to be in Genshin one day, unless they currently have just revealed one to us finally, unless this is the primordial one himself. Anyway, Sophia, or the sustainer of heavenly principles, left the Demiurge by himself for a time, and he ended up not doing such good things, let's say. So Sophia, feeling responsible for this, she went down to talk some sense into him and his creations. This is what triggered the Archon War. Those that sided with Sophia and understood her and believed her became the side of remembrance, and all those who opposed, the very light from them left them and went on to the plane of light, leaving only their darkened husks behind. They were only creatures of darkness now. If the Irminsul tree ceases to exist, they will no longer get recycled upon death, and they will just cease to exist. This is also what happened to the people of Conoria. They didn't choose the side of remembrance, and so the light left them, and they turned into darkened husks, darkened versions of themselves, therefore heliotropes and so on. Not only did they turn into heliotropes, however, they also got smited for then being heliotropes and stuff like that. This is literally how it played out in Gnosticism. Anyone who didn't turn into a heliotrope, I speculate they didn't choose to go against the side of remembrance, at least not completely. Perhaps they were undecided, and therefore they didn't get the light expelled from themselves. Anyway, eventually the Demiurge and his kings of the abyss got sealed away in the abyss. Is Conoria actually underneath Cimmeral? It actually is. I didn't want to reveal this yet because I didn't think that Genshin was actually going to reveal this anytime soon, because we should not be going down there anytime soon. We are not prepared. How can I be sure it's there? It's because in the same Gnostic story that you see for the battle pass, in the Gnostic story, it's basically saying that when we're sent down to Egypt. That's where that river is, or ocean is, that we're supposed to go down under to steal the pearl from the snake. However, if you get too close to the Demiurge, he actually can like make you forget who you are, which is obviously what happened to our sibling and obviously what happened to Sophia in the first place. However, there's more stuff that transpired here, because Sophia ended up getting recycled by the Irminsul tree to becoming reborn as Paimon. So there's untold story here. Why am I so sure that Paimon is a recycled Sophia? It's because there's only 4 descenders, 4 Aeons. Only 4 things should have celestial energy, should wield light. We already know all of them are accounted for. There's you, your sibling, there's Alice, and there's the sustainer of heavenly principles. 3 of these are accounted for. I don't know what happened to the sustainer of heavenly principles, but it's safe to assume she's no longer around, and now there's a new creature of light, a new celestial being. This must be the sustainer of heavenly principles recycled, because there's only 4 descenders. Aeons don't only have this pure light thing, it's also celestial energy, like stars and space. That floaty stuff floating all around Paimon, or that's in the palm of your hand when you stay still too long, or it's on the celestial nails themselves. That is celestial energy. That is light energy. That means that is Aeon energy. How can she have Aeon energy if she's not a descender? Therefore, she has to be a descender. And there are only 4 on our plane. 3 are accounted for, and therefore she has to be the sustainer of heavenly principles, Sophia. Which is why it's such an important task for us to come down here and save her. She's not going to be able to get out of this plane of existence by herself, and she belongs in the realm of light. We have to go show her how to gain gnosis all over again. Show her all of the trials and tribulations that a human should be going through. Greed and pride and gluttony and all of this stuff. She has to learn how to overcome all of this stuff. When we first met her, sure, she's greedy and gluttonous, but you see every step of the way she gets wiser, she gets more mature, she has a good heart, and she cares about people. Bit by bit, she's becoming a better person, and she's getting the enlightenment she needs. I suspect if she were to touch any of the pillars of the 7, she would gain the ability to use that power. Or perhaps when she was recycled, she lost the ability to use every vision, and therefore she has to unlock each one of them one by one. If you want to know how this story plays out in Gnosticism, Literally, the world cannot be saved without Sophia. It is when Sophia gains complete gnosis again, she's able to actually save the world. Without her, nothing is gonna happen. Without Paimon, everyone would just be trapped in this endless loop of dying and suffering for all of eternity. It's her that sets everyone free. There is so much more I still wanted to say in this video, but I'm already at the 20-minute marker. So I'm just gonna end it here, guys. But thanks for watching, and I hope to see you next time. But most importantly, take care of Paimon.